What's going on, guys? It's your boy Stallion here from the Stallion Gaming Network, and welcome back to another Doom Snapmap tutorial. Today we're going to work on the first of the very tricky variables, which is actually really simple. It's called a player resource system. Sorry, brain jerked up there. So what a player resource is basically is, as I named this appropriately, a cache. Of course, it has the original icon of this. And it's usually named player resource, but I changed it so I could find it easier. As you can see, we already have our player resource system set up here. So, I'm going to show you a quick, revert back to normal, thank you. I'm going to show you a quick example of this, of how to build this. It looks really simple, doesn't it? It is, because it is. So let me show you what this actually does. So, as I said before, player resource is basically a resource system, basically something that you get for certain things. If you trigger a certain thing, or pick up a certain thing, or blow up a certain thing, or shoot a certain thing, or kill a certain thing, you get this player resource depending on how you set it up. And in this case, I set it up so that every time I kill an AI a certain way, I get certain points. And basically, you can use those points to buy things using player resources as well, which I'll show you later. But this is how you set it up. So setting up a player resource is pretty simple. So as you can see, if I kill the demon, I get 100 points, which was of my initial 500, just like zombies. If I hurt a demon, as you can see, I get 10 points. As you can see, I only get 100 points still yet from shooting them. As you can see, now I'm at 810. So now that there's still one more thing I added. So at I'll shoot at 960 after this. Yep, 960. As you can see, when I meleeed them, when I glory killed them, I got 130 points. That's because of the way I set it up, and I'll show you how to do that. So basically, kind of like zombies. And you can see it's on my HUD up there at the top left, cache, 960. So now I can go buy a mystery box. So that's basically showing you like an example of it working and how it looks and how it works. And I'll show you how to set this up real quick. Let's get into the detail of a player resource. So let me quickly reiterate: a player resource is or a value that is given to a player. Basically, in this case, we start out with 500. I can only go below. I can only get my minimum value is 0 and stuff. We'll explain that in a second. But a player resource is a value given to the player that can be used again to trigger things. Basically, if I want to buy things or something. So basically, the player resource, you get something and then you spend that something. In layman's terms, I'm just trying to stall here while I get ready to get it. But yeah, so you get the player resource. To set this player resource up, this cache system, in other words, you go to variables. And as you can see, here's our variables list, as I discussed. And you see the first one is player resource. You select that. You find a place to put it, you place it down. As you can see, here's our cache system, but we're going to go make a new one for the case of this tutorial. You place it down. So here's our player resource. It's named 2 because the other one was actually named 1. But so there you go. You got a player resource set up. Okay? It's there. It's ready to go. You go into its settings, and here's initial default settings. Remember, as I did with the other one, it's good to name and label your player resource so that way you can tell them apart. So that way, if you place a new one down, you'll be able to tell them apart and be able to know which one you want to select. So it's good to name and label them. Alright, so initial value. Initial value of the player resource is the starting value, which you start out with. Basically, the amount that a player starts with. In this case, we're going to take a cue from zombies. From Call of Duty Zombies. And we usually start off with a map at 500 points. So our initial value is going to be 500, just like zombies. Now, negative value and minimum value and maximum value. Minimum value is the amount a player can go below 0. Basically, in zombies, the minimum value is 0 because you can't go into negatives. You cannot go below 0 points in zombies. If I were to buy if I had 0 points right now, and I were to buy a wall gun for 1,000 points, my points on my HUD will show as negative 1,000 because I spent points I didn't have. And because I can go below, because the minimum value goes below 0, in this case 10,000, I can keep buying that weapon for 1,000 points until I reach negative 10,000. So whatever you want the minimum value to be, basically the minimum value of what you want, which in this case I want it to be 0, so that players can't go into negative, that has to be that's your minimum value. Your maximum value is how much a player can get before it stops adding. So if I get to, right now, 10,000 points, I can't earn any more money. I can't earn any more player resource because it's as high as it goes. I actually usually go 1 million because if a player gets to 1 million, bruh, you need a life. So that's how I set it up for zombies in this case. And as you can see, player resource 2. So there's that. Now it's not enough to have a player resource. You want to know what it is. You want to see that player resource. You want to know how much you have to spend. So to set that up, it's good. It's in the map, and you can buy. You could actually earn player resource right now. Well, you can't really earn it because there's no trigger to earn it. But you could earn it right now. But you can actually spend it. So if I actually gave a player initial value of 500, anything that you can have on your map that's 500 or less, they can actually buy just right now, right out the gate, as soon as we play. So, but of course, you want to see this on your HUD, don't you? I'm sure everybody wants to see this on their HUD. So how to make it show up on the HUD like I had before is simple. You go to a thing called, give me a second, there, players and teams, and you go to player proxy. I'll go into more of the player proxy later, but basically it's short and sweet. It's basically it affects the player, anything that affects the player. If the player spawns in, do this. If the player is killed, do this. If the player is killed himself, suicided, do this. If a guy joins the match, do this. Point is basically you got all these different things that you can do to a player depending on what happens to that player. You know? In this case, we're going to say on player spawned. So when the player spawns in the map, or when the map starts, you can also use map started too, which is another, I'll use that for a different tutorial later on. But we're going to go to on match started. And we're going to go to, give me a second. I'll find it here in a second. There it is. No, that's not it. No, that is. Actually, that's it. Communication. Communication and go to HUD settings. Basically, this is going to allow you to adjust your HUD. We're going to place this down and say set active. We're going to make our HUD active if the player spawns in. Okay? You can also tell it like what on player killed or something. Remove HUD, basically set inactive, so that way the players can't see the HUD anymore. Then why would you want to do that? But that was basically the player HUD. We'll go into more on player HUD settings later on in the tutorials. I'm going to do these later tutorials. So, HUD settings. So here's your HUD. So basically we start now. Right now we'll see in the top left score with a color of white. We'll see team score in the top right with a color of white. In the bottom we'll say playtime with a color of white. And there's filters and stuff. This is to make it so that only this player sees it, or only this team sees this HUD. Only this AI see, or any AI will see this HUD. You get the point. It's filters. We'll go into the filters later. But yeah, so there's the HUD. If I play right now, as you can see, the player HUD. Give it a second as it loads up. So, how you guys been? Good. That's great. Good to hear. Oh, sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. The weather's been kind of weird here. How about you guys' weather? How's it going? Is it good? It's good. Oh, sorry. I can't talk right now. Got a tutorial to run. Okay, so, as you can see right now, as I said, top left score, team score on the right, and bottom is playtime. All with the initial original color. I know it's not actually white, but shut up. Don't be a nitpicker. All right, so as you can see, there's our HUD. It shows up when we play the map. Now, to get this to show our player, like our resource value, there's a viewer. So get this to show our resource, our player resource 2 in this case, not our cache one, because that's something I used for the previous one. To show our player resource 2, let's go, and we're going to go into it, and we're going to hold, as you can see, we have the score and stuff like that. We can actually tell it to, change this to leading time, player, team score, all sorts of other things. But what we want right now is variable, because the player resource is a variable. And give me a second. I do these live, but I always forget to do. The simplest thing is set up the stream. The player resource is a variable, just like booleans and all sorts of other things. It's a variable. So it's not only natural that we want to make our HUD show a variable, because that's what we're trying to show. Now to determine, okay, Jamie. So to determine this value, we're going to go to variable down here, which is just showed up. As you can see, it doesn't show up unless I go to variable. So we're going to go to variable, and we're going to press square to change. As you can see, I got my integer. I can show my integer. I can show my number, boolean, strings, player resource, and team, and all sorts of other things. But to this one, we're going to do our player resource. Now, remember that the player resource we're using is not cache, is not this cache variable. It's not like, it's still cache, but it's not named cache. So we're going to use the one named player resource 2 because it's the one we're using for this example. We're going to select that. It's going to show our player resource 2. Now, the label basically means is if I were to start now, it would show the number that I have. It would show the amount of resource I have. It wouldn't actually have a name to it. It would just show, since we start out with 500, it would just show 500. If I want to actually give this a name like points or cash, I have to go into label and type in cash or points, cash. You can also change the color of what it looks like. Usually I go with a nice green because green for money. So you'll see that there in a second, and I go to green. Now you can do more variables like this and other things and these other slots, but you only have 3 slots. So just make sure you really keep that in mind. We're just going to put that back to team score. So if I start the map now, you'll see that it shows up. And waiting, loading. Wait for it. It's going to happen. Any moment now. Just wait. There we go. That's annoying. So, yeah. I do these live because my equipment's kind of broken right now. As you can see, our cash has shown up. We have cash, and it's labeled cash, and it says 500. Just like we told it to. Zombies. Yay! It works. So, now you know how to set it up and put it on your HUD. Now it's time to see how we earn cash in-game. Now, there's multiple ways to earn cash. It's not just to have cash if you can't earn it. So, but there's multiple ways to earn cash. So, we could have it set to where we have a switch. Give me a second. There it is, switch. We can have multiple switches. We're going to place a couple switches down. We're going to actually do this for a second. So, we can have it to where we earn it through a switch. So, what you want to do is go into your panel, select it, and say on used. We're going to select our player resource, and we're going to say you got options for spend, set, add, and subtract. So if we wanted to add 500 points to make our 500 points that we already have to 1,000, we could. If we wanted to minus these values, we could subtract points from a player, take it away from them by using this. We can also set their score. If you want to if you don't want to just give them a certain amount, but you actually want to set their current amount, which will basically change the this value here. It changes this value. When you set a player score, it'll change this value right here. So when they spawn in, no longer will they start off with no longer will they have 500. They will have 1,000 or whatever number you give it to set. So you can also have them spend points in case you want to buy a mystery box or buy a wall gun. This is how you do it. You say spend, and then you have the button, the actions that take place after later. We'll go into spending later in a second here, but for now we're going to give our player some points. We're going to give him let's give him 500 points. Let's give him 500 more points to his initial 500, basically turning 500 into 1,000. So we're going to give him 500 points. There you go. We did it. We gave our player some points. We can also make him spend points. So we're going to copy this and place this over here. And we're going to make our player buy a gun. So we can make him spend points. And there's other ways of doing this. This is just a simple way of doing it. Now, you can use box triggers and stuff like that to give them specific messages and stuff like that. But for now, we're just going to make this really simple. We can go into intricacies later on advanced tutorials. But for now, we're just going to have them... we're going to give them a gun. Let's give them a gun, like another gun. Okay? We're going to give them a gun. Give me a second. Spawners. There you are, spawners. Let's give them a gun. See, we have a gun spawner weapon. We're going to give them spawn objects. So... as you can see, it's good enough that now this trigger will actually give us a gun. So now it's time to show you how to make our player reference so that we have to pay for that gun. Okay? So we're going to go in here, we're going to highlight this string, and we're going to delete this. We're going to move this a little bit more out of the way so we can get some room here. And we're going to go on used. We're going to go drag this out, and we're going to go to player resource. So we're going to go to player resource, we're going to place it down, and we're going to say use player resource 2 because we want to use that one we have and that we have set up. And we're going to say spend. So we're going to say spend, and this basically what this is you told it to spend money. So spend. We have spend right here. So this value in the spend icon here determines how much the guy has to pay. In this case, we're going to take, let's give him $1,000. Take $1,000. We just gave him $1,000. Let's take it away. So we're going to make him pay $1,000 to buy this weapon. To make it so, now there's a couple things you can do. So what we have now is on changed, on spend player resource successful, on spend player resource failed, on spend player resource attempted. So you have these different options. So if somebody attempts to buy it, then they'll get the gun. If somebody fails to buy it, they'll get the gun. If somebody succeeds, then but who wants to fail? Like, why would you give a gun to somebody who didn't have the right amount of money? Why? The option's there if you want it, but why? We're gonna say on player resource spend resource successful. If he has the cash, basically, we're going to spawn object. Okay, so we have that set up. So what if you want a fail message? What if somebody attempts it and they fail? What if they don't have the money? What if they don't have the money? Which, like I said, we wouldn't because we would because we gave our player 1,000 points, but we wouldn't afterwards. We would have 0 player resource because we would spend it all. So what are we going to tell our player if he tries to buy it again? Simple. We're going to go to on failed, and we're going to get something called a message. Not a world text, but a message. This basically shows a message up on your HUD, your player's HUD, for a certain amount of time as suggested. We're going to show. So this message will show for 3 seconds. Now, what is the message we want to tell them? Well, they don't have enough cash. So let's tell them not enough cash. There. Not enough cash. And we're going to make it appear for 2 seconds. That's good. So if they don't have the money, it'll show them not enough cash. And you can do sound effects and all sorts of things. But for now, we're just going to do this. So if they buy it and it's successful, yes. If it's not, then not. If they attempt to buy it, on attempted, of course, you can do other things like, say, spend or do other sorts of things. But we don't need to do that because we're not. It's not like we're going to. I don't really use the attempt that much because why would I reward somebody for attempting to buy something? You just don't. But it's there if you want to use it. Basically, if they try to buy it, regardless of whether they have it or not, they will get it. Basically, and stuff like that. And you can say on changed, get on changed, add players. So you can give them money or take money away, or even more money away than they ever had. You can set their player resource a different one or make them spend more whenever it changes, but we're not going to do that. But that's what the on change does. Basically, when the player resource changes, when this particular number that is determined changes, when our cash changes, it'll apply the effect of whatever we tell to add, subtract, or we can even tell to just turn off the device. We can tell on changed, disable the gun thing, so they can't do it again. But that's what I'm saying. It's just the basics of how that stuff works. I'm trying to explain this as much as I can. So what weapon do we want our character to get? Chain gun will be nice. We'll just leave it as chain gun. Put it on the ground, and there you go. And as you can see there, we'll get a chain gun. So let's go in and test this out. Now that we have it set up on our HUD, we set up the player resource, we have our buyable. Let's go in and show you how this works. There's a lot you can do with the player resources. Like I said, I'm going into detail as much as I can about these without making the video too long, but without making it too short and non-detailed enough. So I'm trying to give you guys a very good explanation on what things do as fast as I can and as simple as I can. I'm sorry if it doesn't make any sense, but I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, so as I said, when the match started, we have an initial value of 500, and it's on our HUD. As you can see, cash 500. If we hit this interactable, it'll give us 500 points, thus making it 1,000. If we do this, it'll spend 1,000 and give us a gun. Now, as I said, I don't have 1,000 anymore. And, I didn't allow reuse. But the point is, if I tried to do it again, it would have showed that message I set up saying not enough cash. But I didn't turn on the function to allow reuse, which is something I don't usually do because it's not like, it should be default. So yeah, now we got a chain gun, and as you can see, we have 0 points now because we spent it all, and if we were to try to buy this again, if it was working, it would have displayed our message, not enough cash, and we'd have to earn that cash in order to do it. Okay, so before we finish up here, there's still one more thing I want to show you about player resources. So now we know how they work, how to set them up, how to make them show up on your HUD, and how to buy and spend, earn and spend money. and stuff like that. And you can do this with a lot of things. So you're like, okay, so we spent our 1,000 points. What I meant, by the way, let's just do this real quick because, like I said, I can't reuse this. Allow reuse true. True means yes. Basically, in the world of coding, false is no, true is yes. In this case, at least. Well, on booleans, we'll get into discussion of booleans later. But so yeah, true. So yeah, we can use this multiple times and start enabled, which basically means it's not activated until told to be activated by something else, like using this panel, which I'll show you real quickly. Let's just show that real quickly. As you can see, this one says start enabled false. This one says start enabled true. So this one will be allowed to be used, but the other one won't. As you can see, if I do say on used, enable interactable. Basically, this will turn this on since it's not on at the start, and we'll show that off real quickly. I'll get into more detail in my tutorial on switches and activators, but for now, so zombies. How do we set this up? We have our buy up, we have our earn money, we have our HUD money, we have our spendable, and we have some extra things that I just as a bonus. So how do we make killing AI earn money? Well, you can do it two different ways. Killing an AI simply can just earn money by say putting an AI down and going to on killed. On killed or on hurt, add player resource. You could do that, but it will only affect this one AI, Stalin. How do I make, like, zombie game modes? I want to make zombie game modes. How do I make all the AI do this one thing, not just this one that I've placed down? Well, as with the player proxy, which allows it will perform actions based on, you know, a player spawned or player killed or so forth, where there's something else in here called not only just a player proxy, but a AI proxy, which is right here under AI, which you can have path combat points and conductors and pathing and stuff like that. But we're going for player proxy, which will base AI proxy, which is basically like the player proxy, except whenever you perform these actions on an AI, which in this case demon, it'll give you two things. So if on a spawn, we can say on spawn give a player 500 points. But why would you do that in zombie modes? For every that means for every zombie that comes in the map, you'll get a certain amount of points. If on hurt, meaning when they're damaged but not killed, you'll earn a certain amount of points. On killed, it'll give you a certain amount of points. But we're going to just focus on these two. Let's do on hurt. So when we punch an AI and it does not die, you can actually just attach it to this, but I choose to just make another one, thing. It takes just remember to be efficient with your maps. Networking, it does go up the more of these you use. So try to like reuse them if you can. So we're going to say on AI hurt, we're going to add a player resource, basically. Okay? There you go. Player resource set. So, when an AI is hurt, I'm going to move this to the side just a little bit. It'll add a player resource. What is that a resource, you ask? Well, in zombies, it's 10 points. So we're going to set the value to 10. So anytime we hurt an AI and it's not killed, it will give us 10 points. Ta-da! There's still one more thing you gotta do. Now, for some reason, only on the on hurt function is the activator different. And I'll explain this in a second, but we'll go over why this is a problem later in a second here. Let's just do the other two first, and then I'll explain it. So next is on killed. So when a demon is killed, we're going to add player resource. Ta-da! I'm trying to talk as if you haven't done this before, so it makes it sound... So, there you go. Anytime a demon is killed by any means, we're going to add a player resource of 100. And you're pretty much done there. All I have to do is add a couple AI, and you're done. Well, this is just for the AI setup. There you go. 4 AI, ready to go and ready to roll. Now, before we get started and showing this off, there's still one more thing I want to show you. So if I glory kill, if I shoot them, if I hurt, if they die by any means, if they are killed by any means, the killer will get the money, right? So that's the activator. I can make if I set it to demon, then if the demon killed, the demon will get the money. So basically, the activator gets the money, and in this case, the demon or the killer, which is the killer is us. So why would we give the demon money? Give us the money. So let's make sure you set that to killer, which is why I said this is a problem. The reason you'll find this doesn't work when you first try it is because the activator is demon. The demon's getting the money. Are you kidding me? Why would no? Why is it default? Well, there's a simple way to change this, and that's by pressing right on the D-pad to make this changes to attacker. Make sure you change it to attacker, or it will not reward you points. It'll reward the demon points, which he can't spend. So why? So anyway, attacker will get the points. Make sure you change that. It's important. So now the attacker will get 10 points, and the killer will get the 10 points. There's still one more thing we have to do, and that's saying, so cause of death, any. If they die, the killer gets the money, no matter what it is. So in zombies, you remember that when you melee kill zombies, you get more points than if you actually shoot kill zombies. So to fix this problem, we simply go to, there's 3 different functions. Any kill, non-glory kill, glory kill. So if they die by any means besides the glory kill, which is what we want this to be, the killer gets 100 points. Which is, in this case, in the Doom's way of saying a melee kill, but a very, instead of just a knife, it's a very gruesome melee, but you get the point. They will get 100 points. And we're going to name this, so that we can tell them apart, we're going to say this on non-glory kill. Seriously? I I hate that button. A non-glory killed. There, let's remove that space. It does an automatic D space for some reason, I don't know. So there. On non-glory killed, it'll give our player 100 points. Naming it doesn't really do anything, it just allows me to tell which is which. Okay? So, we're going to add another on killed here. And we're going to say add, just like before. Alright, and we're going to say, and as you can see right now, it's 1 point. So on killed any, it'll give us 1 point. So killer, on glory killed, and we're going to name that glory killed. On glory, see that? It automatically despaces. I hate that. On glory killed, and we're going to name it glory killed. We're going to award our player, no, thank you, 130 points. So they get an extra 30 points for glory, or in this case, melee killing the bastard, you know. I guess, well, melee killing, not really. It's only for a glory kill, but it works for Doom. It works for Doom. If you kill them by just smacking them repeatedly, it doesn't work. But most of the time, if you keep smacking them, you'll usually be forced into a glory kill, so it doesn't really matter. There's only very few times where you actually kill them with the melee, and it's not a glory kill. So there you go. That's setting up the zombie system. So on hurt, 10 points is awarded to the attacker, which is on non-glory killed. 100 points is awarded to the killer, and on glory killed, 130 points is awarded to the killer. So as you can see, it's pretty simple, and it really is just common sense. So, which will be shown up on the HUD, which you can earn another 500 here. So see, there's this player resource set up, and let's show you how this works. I'm trying to go into as much detail on this as possible. I know this is getting a long video, but I'm just trying to go into as much detail as possible without sounding stupid or confusing. Usually I end up sounding confusing anyway. I'm not used to tutorials, as you can tell. But I'm doing my best, and I'm trying to make sure people explain it in the slightest way possible. Trying to talk in a way that, you know, so... Okay, so we started up, and our cash is 500. As you can see, if I melee, I get 10 points. If I shoot, I get 100. Well, actually, I only got 10 because I didn't kill them. There, now I got 100. I'm going to shoot, and as you can see, I got another 10, and I'm going to make glory kill, and I got 130. Basically, it works. There we go. 970 points. I'm going to... See, I cannot buy the gun yet, because I told it not to be active on start. As I said, on start false, this is what happens. It doesn't work. Until our trigger, which is this, turns it on. Also giving us 500 points, which you just saw. And now this should be active. As you can see, it is active. We're going to spend our 1,000 points, and we get a chain gun. As I said before, we try to buy it again, but we do not have the points. So our HUD shows the message, not enough cash. God damn it! Give it to me! Ah! That's the point. So there you go. That's basically player resources in a nutshell. I tried to go as much detail as possible with player resources. It is a simple thing, but explaining it is hard and confusing. But I did try to do my best. Hopefully this helped you guys out learn about how to use player resources. If it did, make sure you give it a like button. Subscribe if you're new. And I will see you guys in the next tutorial, please.